Hello, hello, hello. It's Cassandra Williamson, and you can see me right there with Transgender Diverse Veterans of America Action Group. And welcome to Action News and Talk at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I am down in LA, and if you don't know where that is, you just have to look for Lower Alabama. That's where I'm located, down in Northport, which is right near Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So anyway, that's where we are today, and I'm so glad you're with us. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. This is a live show. If you watch it anytime after 6:30 in the evening on today's date of the 23rd, October the 23rd, then you're watching a recording. But pay attention to that streamer going across the bottom down there. If anyone is under 18 years of age, please leave now. Got it? See you later. Bye. All right. So having said all of that, what was that thing that was just popped up on the screen in the background just a second ago? Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. What was that? Let's go back here. Let me pull that back up. I got to find it. I got to find it again. Where did it go? Put the right one back up and we'll get it. We'll get it there. Just give me 1 second. And I know it's in there somewhere. There it is. Okay, show. And I have to take my own picture back down, apparently. Let's just put it on top. Maybe, okay, give me a second. I'm going to pull it in a different way. Here we go. Like that. There we go. So anyway, yeah, this is the genie. We're trying to shove the genie back down the bottom. And there's so much in the modern world where we see people trying to do that. Really, they're just trying to shove everything that they don't like back down in the bottle and make it go away, right? Well, I'm going to tell you that's not going to work. You're going to be sadly mistaken when you try to shove the bottle of gender and sexual identities back down in the bottle, back down into the closet, out of the way. It's just not going to happen, folks. Period. No matter how much you want to eliminate the words, and you want to just go through in there and you want to erase everything, well, that's not going to happen. Forget it. It's just not going to happen. You can try all you want, and you can scream and holler and go into the federal government and try to remove all of our words that define who we are and stop all the research associated with us. But guess what? We aren't going away, folks. You cannot shove us back into that bottle. It's just not going to happen, no matter what you do. And I don't care how hard you try. That is not happening. We're not shoving us back into the bottle. And let me tell you how, this is the way I actually think of it. This is the way I see it too, by the way. And this would be like if you were back in 1870, somewhere around there, and you're just discovering what atoms are. You'd heard about atoms for a long time because even the Greeks knew what the atoms were. The world was made up of atoms, pieces of fire, earth, wind, and water. Atoms, the smallest thing you could break it down into. But for the longest time, that's all we ever thought the world consisted of, right? We always just thought that. We thought the world was just made up of these little lumps of water, lumps of fire, lumps of air, and lumps of, what was the other one? Earth, I think. But anyway, so that's not going to happen, folks. This is the one. I can't really see that one real clearly, but let me try this one then instead. Oh, there we go. Look, I'm in the background. Just ignore me back there floating around in the background. And then this back here on the Dalton model. I mean, that's what these people today over in the conservative side, we're trying to take our quantum mechanical model over here on the right, as we understand the world now, and they're trying to say, no, we don't like it. Oh, we're going back to the Bohr model. Nope. We're not good with that one either. We're going back to Rutherford and Thomson and then back to Dalton. They want to shove everything of all of our identities back into that and just say, okay, it's all whitewashed now. And that would have been good if this had been vanilla. But that's what they're trying to do, folks. See, we learned along the way. We've discovered new things and understood the world better, and we've come to understand ourselves better and the science behind who we are and all of those things. You're not going to shove us back into the Dalton model. Just because we now know more about who we are and what makes us up and what makes us strong, you're not going to destroy that just to appease your sense of what the world should have been like back in 1870. We're not going back there. And no matter how much you want to do this, erase and erase and erase, you're not going to do it, period, because genie's out of the bottle now. That genie is way out of that bottle. Whoops, scrolling down, hit the wrong one down there too far. That genie is way out of that bottle now. We now know that, There's more to who we are in terms of our sexual orientation and gender identity. And every single person on this planet has one. And I don't care what you think about it. And if that is offensive to you, I can't find a Dalton model of the atom big enough to put you in. You're that far back in history. You've lost your head, folks. We're not going back in the bottle, period. We're not going to shove all this stuff back there just because you are offended by it. Just because you don't think it's the way it ought to be. But you know something? You don't understand the world as well as you think you do. So we will not be shoved back into the bottle. You cannot do that. It won't happen. We're not going to go from here. Let me go back up one more here. Get to this one again. Which one? This one right here. Whoops, not me. But we're this over here, the quantum mechanical model. We're still learning about the quantum mechanical model. We're still learning more about gender and identities of all kinds. We're still learning more. We're getting finer and finer and more detailed grain down and understanding of what all that stuff is that makes us up, about who we are. And regardless of your feelings about it, it's here. It's that simple. I don't care what Dr. Roberts says up there at Project 2025 or a Heritage Foundation or Heritage Action. I don't care what Matt Walsh or Christopher Rufo says about it. They're wrong. That's like taking this quantum mechanical model over here and going, nope, we don't like that one. That's offensive to our religious views. We're going to go back to the Dalton model because that matches more what we see the world as. And not like the 6,000-year-old model. That's the ones back here in the back, this purple Dalton billiard ball model. Anyway, phew, yeah, riled up about all that. I hope you can see it. But yeah, you're not going to erase us. You're going to try, but we're going to fight it. No matter what you do, we will not go backward. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's too late for that. But I do have something funny I want to show you. I was reading through my news feed this morning and I saw this satirical site. Okay. Satire all the way. I know it, but still it is spot on funny. It's just so freaking funny. So let me see if I can find that. We're going to pull that page up and talk about it just for a second because where is it? I got to go over here. There. Okay, here we go. All right. So this, I was reading it. I came across this. I've never heard of this site before, Expatsy. But if you go look at it, it's about expats living in other countries. And, you know, obviously that's where expats are living, right? Let me see. Yes. So that's what it's all about primarily. But this is funny as can be. The best countries for Republicans to move to if Joe Biden wins again. Okay, folks, let's jump into this one. You ready? I'm going to give credit where it belongs. This is from the expatsy.com website. Okay. And I'm going to scroll down. All right. So every election cycle, we hear about people wanting to leave the country if they don't get who they, if it goes south fast. And you ever thought about that expression? If it goes south fast. I think that's probably an Americanism. Comes from the Civil War, no doubt. I'm guessing, but that makes sense to me. If everything goes south fast, in other words, turns into a civil war or gets really freaking bad, then they're going to leave the country. And you hear it from the right and you hear it from the left. All of them say the same thing. You know, if it doesn't go this way, I'm going to have to leave because it's dangerous. Well, it is dangerous, though. I want to acknowledge that it is dangerous whenever people start talking about putting the genie back in the bottle and erasing and deleting people. That's pretty horrifying. Whether you believe it or not, that is horrifying. You're running around here telling everybody in the world that another group of Americans do not qualify for everything that America has to offer simply because they are different from you. That's wrong. And if that comes as a shock, geez, I think you may have had your head stuck in the sand and way up somebody else's. Okay, got it. All right, so here, let's just take a look at this for fun. All right, here we go. This is it's such satire, maybe it's serious. I don't know. We'll leave it up to you to decide. If you do decide to follow some of these countries or go to where they recommend you go. All right, so here are the qualifications, okay? So let's face it, a Republican wouldn't be happy. Who isn't happy in the United States will be miserable in Canada. So let's get rid of conservatives moving to Canada. And obviously on the liberal side, we're all thinking, we got to go to Canada because this country's going to hell in a handbasket. And if it goes really south, meaning if it turns into something bloody, we've got to leave because we can't allow our families to be threatened like that. Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. You got to think and plan. You got to prepare. You got to be ready. Always. Okay. Think ahead. Old Boy Scout motto, be prepared. It's Scout motto now, though. You got to drop the boy off. And I've forgotten about that. I apologize. It's actually Scouts now rather than just Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. It's just Scouts. That makes more sense because we're not shoving the genie back in a bottle. Our understanding of biology and gender and sexuality and all those things, we've come a long way, baby. And all those things we understand about the Dalton model of the atom back there in the billiard ball model, where it's just that's a lump of fire and a lump of air and a lump of earth and a lump of water. And I know they knew about the metals and the iron and stuff like that, a lump of iron and things like that. I know that. However, the point is, at the time, they thought that that's as far as you could go. You couldn't understand it anymore. I mean, that was it. That's the depth of our knowledge and understanding, and there's no more science and physics after that. Yeah, that's what they actually thought. They thought that once they had come to terms with certain levels of knowledge in physics and chemistry and science, that there was nothing beyond it. The arrogance and the hubris of that is just astronomical. But people with big brains fall for that sometimes. It's not their own fault. They just have bought into their own stories so long that, they think that there's nothing more. It turns out that's not true. Because now we know that there's a quantum nature of these atoms and the electrons and neutrons, protons, quarks. All those things are out there. String theory, all that. You're not going to shove all that science back into the bottle and get back to the Dalton model. You're not going to happen. Just not going to happen that way either with sexuality and gender. All right. These are the top issues for Republican voters. Let's take a look. You ready? Low taxes, immigration restrictions, abortion restrictions. I'm going to blow that up so you can read it with me. Da-da-da-da. There we go. We're looking at all of those things: gun rights, death penalty, defense spending, law and order, traditional gender roles, restrictions on protections for LGBTQIA plus people, restrictions on drug use, religious protections, restrictions on affirmative action, anti-warfare. No, it's anti-warfare. It's anti-welfare. Okay. Non-universal health care, because you can't make money on it if it's universal. At least they don't think anybody deserves that. Vaccines not required, opposition to climate policy. These things at the bottom, the vaccines and opposition to climate policy, if you're opposed to those things and opposed to vaccines, well, I understand where you get that kind of thing, but there's no evidence in support of that, of not doing the vaccine unless it's personally harmful to you only. But for the rest of the population, you have to kind of do what you can to protect against it. So, fine. Right. So, low taxes. Okay, if you're a conservative voter, consider moving abroad. These countries are best for those issues. Ready? There's the top one. Low taxes, United Arab Emirates. Go there. That's fine. That'd be a perfectly good place for you. Other countries of low income, taxes, tax-free spots. Right down through there's the list, folks. Yeah. I like Cayman Islands. I like the Cayman Islands. It's really, really pretty there. Very commercial though, but best place to go in Cayman Islands is to find you an Airbnb that's out in the, I was going to say country, but out away from the commercialized areas. Go find out where the people are, the local people. Go to their local store where you don't find a bunch of tourists in there all the time. Go there. Then you get to know who people are down in Cayman Islands. The funniest thing about Cayman Islands is, you know what the national, I guess it would be a national bird. Maybe, I don't know. It's endemic. It's everywhere. Even in reality, out here walking the streets, as well as plaques and sculptures and stuff like that. That would be the red rooster. It's a red rooster, folks. Yeah. There were images of red roosters in my Airbnb that it was just funny because you could look out the window and see the red roosters running up and down the streets too. But I picked the place deliberately away from everything else because I have no interest in the commercialized side of things. None. I just want to know about the people. That's what I find fascinating. But the thing also is you got all this tremendous wealth down on the main strip where all the tourists come in. There's a tremendous amount of wealth, but the disparity between what's there and then what's actually in country for the people who are actually trying to take care of the service industry that takes care of all the lots of moneyed people that are there, their living conditions are far, far, far worse. Really is. It's horrible to see that in juxtaposition. You go back out in this spot where I was at back at Grand Cayman. I mean, it was just away from everything, but not by much, maybe 5 miles, 10 miles, maybe at that much. But I mean, it was just out in the country. It was a small country store right down the block from where I was at. And the roads were not paved. They were rough and all that kind of stuff. And I loved that though, because I got to see who they were and who they are. To me, that's more important than seeing all the shiny, glittery, golden things and sparkly stuff down there. It's there. It really is. I never did find a golden toilet, though. Anyway, I'm going to stay off of Manhattan. Okay. Immigration restrictions. The North Sentinel Island. There you go. Yeah, you can't get there. Remember, that's where that guy got killed. He thought he was going to go there and take Christianity to them and introduce them to Christianity. And they shot him with an arrow. People, let me tell you, there are some places you just don't want to go. But I mean, if you are keen on no immigration, Stephen Miller talking to you, then you can go there. Go ahead. You take your whole America First legal team and go right over there and try to proselytize North Sentinel Island. Go ahead. Have fun. Watch out for those arrows. Okay. Abortion restrictions. You got the Republic of the Congo, and they list you a few more down through here too. Free market capitalism. That would be Singapore. Okay. Oh, let me see. This one actually says something. The Heritage Foundation and Wall Street Journal create an annual ranking called the Index of Economic Freedom. Now, look, that Index of Economic Freedom is based on their principles, and they exclude everything that has to do with diversity, equity, inclusion. Obviously, all they're interested in is just a money track. Okay. This is the money track. That's what that is. All right. And the U.S. nabbed the 25th place out of this, but then again, they would, because that's what they want you to think, that the U.S. needs to be moving up on that scale. They need to go up there and match Switzerland. All right. Restrictions on labor unions, Bangladesh. There you go. There you go. You want your kids to go work in the meat factories? You don't think there are going to be any kind of manufacturing or commercial restrictions on employment of kids? Go for it. Right there. Go to Bangladesh. Start your own business. You can do it all you want. There's a lot of countries like that too, by the way, which is absolutely disgusting. Gun rights. There you go. Yemen. Yemen is at the top of their list. And they give you the other ones. Death penalty, obviously, China ranks up there. And then we rank 18th. I mean, we rank number 5. You got China in the thousands, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. The only thing that's common about all three of those, anyway, you think about that, get back to me, send me an email. But we rank right up there in all of that one. There we go. Defense spending. I guess this, Qatar would probably be a good place to be, but whatever. There's a lot of other considerations on that one. But if you're interested in defense spending, well, the U.S. beats all the others, the closest one by 3 times. So let's go on down. It's almost 4 times actually. So I mean, there's nobody else close to us. As for military spending as a percentage of GDP, these countries rank the highest. Ukraine, which is at war, obviously. And then you've got finally these countries spend the most per capita, the true measure of what you can contribute to defense spending. Most per capita. Go for it. Law and order. Well, if you're neglecting all the other ideological stupid things that are taking place out of North Korea, then you're only interested in law and order. Well, yeah, just go ahead and run across that border, the DMZ, like that soldier did, Mr. King. Go ahead and take off across there. You got real law and order right there, folks. Traditional gender roles, Afghanistan. Yeah. Ugh. Restrictions on protection for LGBTQIA, Iran. Yeah, they drop you off your head over there. You don't have to worry about LGBTQ plus people being out and open there. No. Nope. Doesn't mean they're not there, though. It just means that they're not letting you know they're there. Which is what you actually want, though, as a conservative. That's what you're looking for. You don't want people to announce who they really are. Got it. A lot of those. Drug use, Indonesia. Let me see. Religious protections, the Vatican City. You wouldn't be welcome over there if you're an evangelical Christian or a devout. Or you have to be a devout Catholic, though. And sometimes even a militant Catholics or militant Christian, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, affirmative action. I'm not going to go through all these things. There's about 23 of them down through here. But I just wanted you to see that because I thought it was so freaking funny. It's just funny as can be that somebody actually wrote this down and got to looking up all the information on it. So funny. Anyway, let me stop sharing and go back to where I can find you. Let's see where we are. There we are. Any comments? Nope, no comments. So we're doing good. So I do want to make sure you're aware of that disclaimer at the bottom. Please take a chance in a moment to read through that. I do want you to know that because these thoughts and expressions and opinions are mine and mine alone. They aren't part of any agency, government agency, department, anything at all over there. It's just me. Not even, these are my opinions and my views on things. And even that's exclusive even from TDVA and TDVA Action Group, by the way. So if I present something out there that can be in your face kind of stuff, like going after Kevin Roberts, Dr. Roberts, or Stephen Miller, or Christopher Rufo, or any number of talking heads who want to shove everybody who's not like them back down into this neat little genie bottle, they can sit up on the shelf and say, okay, look, we do have representation for all those LGBT people. Look at that little bottle up there on the top. We put a cork in it, though, because if they get out, they just sprinkle on everything, But we got LGBT people here. We got the log cabin people over there. We'll just stick them up on the shelf right here and just close the doors and nail them shut and glue on top of that and put wax over it and, encase it in cement because we don't want it out. But yeah, that's what they're doing. They want to be able to say, look, we've got Latinos here in our group. There are a bunch of Latinos following everything we do. And it's true. There are conservative people out there who are Latino. There are conservative people who are Black. There are conservative people who are in the transgender. All those ideologies that everybody can believe and all that kind of stuff, all those ideologies that are out there. Well, guess what? Being transgender isn't one of them. Being transgender is not an ideology. It's not an ism. It's none of that kind of stuff. It's not an ism like republicanism, liberalism, conservatism, you name it. There's a bunch of those isms. Well, that only applies to the whole group of the people, right? That only applies to a whole group of the people who believe that. Well, we don't, because in our population, in the population of transgender people and diverse Americans of all kinds, we actually represent, there are people in here that represent every ideology you can think of and every religious view that you could think of. Just like over there on those other groups. They got that same thing. But within the conservative movement or the liberal movement, the people who make that up you can't call those people a conservative ideology. You can't go over and say, John, I know you're a conservative ideology. Or Mary, I know you're a conservative ideology. Come on. All those conservative ideologies over there, just stand up and show your head. No, can't do that. We're not going to do it to them, and they're not going to do it to us. Well, they are trying to do it to us. Because you have to depersonalize people. You have to dehumanize them so that you can lump them all in one big clump. And then if you do that enough, you get to the place where you can actually take action against those that you have dehumanized. Just look through history, or just look through the annals of warfare. Okay, just look through any of those things like that. How do you convince a group of ordinarily moral people to go out and wipe out another group of human beings? You have to make them the enemy somehow. You got to convey that they're less than in some way, that the whole group is that way. Now, you know why they don't like for you to actually get to know one individual at a time in those cases? Well, because you might figure out that they're actually human. You can't dehumanize one person, but you can the group. And if you can do a group of human beings enough like that, where you're convinced that you're riled up people against them, I mean, I think, do we have any examples of that kind of stuff in the current world right now? Anyone? I can think of several right off the top of my head without digging into anything. I can think of several. Come on, let's put them in comments over there. You tell me what you think. Just think of a group of people that you've dehumanized, or that some people have dehumanized as a result of, whatever they've been convinced is wrong about that group of people. Let's just take, for instance, you got this whole religious group around the world right now, the extremists in it, not the normal, ordinary people within this religious group. You've got that going on, but they hate this other group so much that they say, oh, well, we just love you. It's just we love the person. We just don't like the lifestyle, or whatever it is. But, that's like saying we love the person, but we don't love your conservatism. Well, I have a respect for you, but I'm not going to fall in that line. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do that. Because that would mean I'd have to give up believing in people. So I can't do that either. But anyway, can you think of a couple of groups? I can. How easily over the past several centuries, millennium, has it been to dehumanize the Jewish people, dehumanize Israelis, the Hebrew people? How many cultures around the world have been taught to hate them? How many religions have been built up on just that one facet? Hatred towards Jewish people. And the rest of us are trying to figure out, where did that come from? Well, I can tell you where it came from. It's a sibling rivalry. It's a sibling rivalry that goes back a long way. And you've got one group of people out there who have been convinced that they'll get brownie points from God if they just wipe out all the Israelis and all the Jewish people. That's the height of stupidity, people. I'm sorry to tell you that. If you don't know that already, that's just stupid. I don't care what you think about it. It's just goofball crazy. And if you take a step back for a minute and look at it, you'd know that's the case. You'd know that's right. The problem is, you've been told over and over and over again that those people right there, they're the ones causing all the problems in your society, in your culture. All the lack and depravity and everything that's taking place with yours, and all the hardness you've had to go through, you blame it on this other group of people. All the bad things that are happening, you blame it on the Roma, or you blame it on the transgender people. It used to be it was just gays and lesbians. That didn't work too well. But even further back in the 50s, it was, we've got to do something about those gay people. We can't have them in the military. We can't have them in Congress. We can't have them anywhere in there. And they had the lavender scare. Yeah. That was long before most of you were born, if you're watching this thing. Many of you, absolutely many of you, have no clue what that is. You have to go look it up and find out. But you should. Alan Turing. Society in general, at that point in time, they all really riled up against this super smart person who gave you the computer that you have today. They raised up in arms against him, and they tried to electrocute the gayness out of him. Really? Really? And they were so afraid that there were gays up there, in the halls of Congress or walking around, working in D.C., that they tried to round them all up and put them in the institutionalize them. All because they had no understanding and no desire to understand that there's differences among humanity, people. They let themselves believe that the entire spectrum of sexual orientation, gender identity, which wasn't used back then in that sense, but the entire group that we know now, they really thought they belonged back there in that Dalton model of the billiard ball model of the atom. They didn't want to take that atom apart because, I mean, it fit conveniently within their worldview. It fit conveniently within that. So they didn't want to tear it apart. They just left it back there as this one Dalton billiard ball. With, they said that right there, that's the smallest thing you can get in the entire universe. That. And the people over here who are trying to electrocute the gayness out of Alan Turing and put gay people and lesbians in institutions, trying to wash out this stuff, or even further back. I'm going to say this one too. Back in in Middle England or something like that. I don't know what year period of time this would have occurred, but when they first saw an African person, somebody from Africa, and they actually thought they could wash the blackness off to make them white because they weren't familiar with other types, other humans. They weren't so fixed in their own way. They were so fixed in their own way that they thought theirs was the only true and right way, and they were wrong. Just as those who wish to erase us today. Let me see if I can get this back up here. See that? There's a whole group of people out there who just are waiting for someone to say, okay, go ahead and erase them. And it's going to depend on you to stand up and fight it. Because if you don't stop it for the ones that you know, the ones who are like me, if you don't stop it for us, you're next. The things that make you unique and different, you are next. And to hell with all that intersectional stuff. I mean, don't you dare use a word like intersectionality or gender. Yeah, really. I mean, don't use that word. Don't use sexual orientation either, because, oh my God, we'll just get, got the flutters down here. What do you call it down here in the South? Shoot, I had the word on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, I think it was flutters. Anyway, you go, oh, geez. It just so bothers me that you said that. Get over your bad self, will you? Stop already. Oh, my gosh. So anyway, we got all these people out here who think that this other group of people aren't human enough for the First Amendment. Let me go in here and share a screen on this one, folks. Let's go back. You don't believe me? Ha. They sure do. Have they got you fooled? Okay. Well, let me go right here first. Go right there. And here we are, Project 2025, folks. I'm going to show you the policy. Hopefully it'll share with the policy up here. Okay, yeah, good. So, I mean, they're serious about this. Kevin Roberts, what the hell's wrong, buddy? You're not going to shove the bottle, or you're not going to shove us back into the bottle. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, period. You're not going to shove the world back into that Bohr, or not the Bohr model, even further back than that, the Dalton model. You're not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that hurts you too bad that you can't deal with it. Stephen Miller and Chris, Matt. I do have to say one thing about Matt, though. Matt has got the cojones to actually tell you who he is. And some people said, it's just satire. Can't you recognize that? No. It's the first two words in his Twitter profile, and it says theocratic fascist. And if the rest of all these people out there were honest with themselves, they might as well just go ahead and stick it up on there. Not the Heritage Foundation, but the Theocratic Fascist Heritage Foundation. Or Hillsdale College. Also promoting a national kind of Christian nationality or national Christian, whatever you want to call it. That's nothing more than theocratic fascism, folks. But with a really strong tinge over here of authoritarianism too, just tossed in for good measure. Don't believe it? Go look. Go check out Lawrence Britt. Wrote something in 2003 that talks about just that. 14 characteristics of fascism and fascist governments. I guess you call them governments around the world. From Pinochet to Hitler to Mussolini and those others. There were others also that this Lawrence Britt actually used as a means to determine what the main characteristics were, and there were 14 of them. Matt knows he fits all of them. Heritage knows too, but they don't have the kahunas to tell you. That's what it amounts to. Stephen Miller's the same way, only his is more focused on, we don't want those other people to come in here. We got this big wall that we want to build there. And I've got no problem with protecting yourself, protecting your country or anything like that. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. Do it. Protect it. That's fine. No problem whatsoever. Because, and here's why I'm saying, I'll just say this. I used to be of the mind that, humanity was ready to actually be accepting of each other. And to kind of, that they were mature enough to handle this this idea that, just let the people go where they want to go and let the dust settle, because then they'll just move where they're needed, where the industries are, no borders, anything like that. I used to believe that was where we're trying to head, but humanity is not mature enough for that. Sadly, that kind of world that we see in Star Trek, as much as I love it, it's not possible because we aren't mature enough to handle it. Unless there's one way that it can occur. There's one way that it can occur. If there is an external threat that is so big and so powerful and so dangerous that it could potentially wipe out the entire human species, then, and it was real enough for people to actually lock onto it and say, oh, yes, yeah, that's bad. We better do something now. Then, only then would people actually come together to deal with that issue, but it's issue specific. We don't have the maturity to actually say, look, this person is just as human as I am. Why the hell should I want the border blocked off? But we're not there. We need to build our sandcastle. And that's fine. Fine. I'd rather have all the kids in one sandbox, literally, personally. I'd much rather have all the kids who are over here and they're all grouped together here and they're just playing along in their sandbox, and you got the other one over there in their little group in the sandbox, and occasionally somebody will throw a spitball across, knock down a wall. Yeah, we're not mature enough to handle anything more than that. So build the damn walls. Whatever you need, build them. Hopefully at some point you'll grow up enough to be able to handle it, to actually accept other human beings. Right now, you can't, especially with the leaders we've got right now. Some of the leaders we have right now who are pushing all this stuff on the conservative side. They're wanting to put back into the bottle, to shove back into that bottle everything that's different that they don't like. I'm going to shove it back in there because, the best image they can have is this one. I don't think I got an image of it, but let me go back and stop sharing this thing here real quick, because I've just been talking and talking anyway. So we'll just go back here. So just imagine you've got this shelf back here. Somewhere behind me, you got this big shelf going all the way around the room, and on the shelf, you've got little vases or vases, whatever you want to call it, or genie bottles or whatever, and a lamp, the genie lamp and stuff like that. You got all these things sitting around back here, and what you're trying to do, what you've been trying to do, and you've accomplished it in some areas, in some aspects of reality in your world, shove people back down so hard that all they are is back on the shelf again, back here in the back, in the corner where you can't really see them too often. You've got your Samoans back there. You got your Pacific Islanders from back there. You got the people from out in the Marshall Islands all back here in the corner, stuck in their little bottle. They can't get out because if you let them out, they're likely to just blossom. Shelf full of things back through here. African Americans, Jewish Americans, indigenous people. You've shoved them all back in this little tight, little neat bottle to try to maintain your view of the world. I'm going to call it the Dalton world. The Dalton world of, billiard ball world, the understanding of the world like atomic structure. Dalton. So, that's what you've done. That's what you've done. You got a room full now of these little lamps, and don't you let anybody touch them. Don't let anybody touch them, because if they rub that lamp, then all those LGBT people will pop out of there and just sprinkle you with all kinds of beautiful confetti. But you can't have that now. You can't have women have more authority or power than you because, you know, it's kind of a patriarchal society these days, it seems to me like. All those things out there. I mean, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to shove the atomic world from the quantum stage all the way back down. You're going backwards. Science and our understanding of the world around us is like this here. If you go from left to right across your screen, right now you're looking, I think it's left, right on your screen. I don't know. But it says Dalton billiard ball model on one side and quantum mechanical model on the other. Well, that's how we've progressed to understand our world better. That's how this has changed so much. But what you're trying to do now with gender and sexuality and all this kind of stuff and discussions about diversity and equity and inclusion, and your religious views are the ones shrinking this, trying to shrink down that quantum mechanical model because it's, you know, it's got a little bit of relativism in it. Ooh, there's a cloud of probability right there. You see the little purple petals inside the gray part? There's no specific location because it's a cloud of probability. That's where you expect you'll find different parts and different things. The likelihood of something being there, it's a cloud of probability. Well, that's what I call it anyway. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, actually right there. But anyway, so that's what you're trying to do, though. You're trying to shove all of this gender stuff and all that stuff back into the Bible because you don't like it. Well, what it is you're shoving the quantum mechanical model of the world that we now know is more accurate than what it was back here on the billiard ball model with Dalton. That's what you're doing with all the people who are different in this country. What the hell's wrong with you? We're out of the bottle. We understand the quantum mechanical model of the atom. Now we understand its place in all of these things. And that it took us a while to get there. We had to go through some understanding and changing and growing. Well, our sexuality and our gender, with that, we've had to do that too. And it wasn't just yesterday. It wasn't 5 years ago. It wasn't 10. We started understanding our gender long ago, but it just offended so many people that you want to take it and shove it back down here into this billiard ball model to make you feel good with your old ways. It's time for you to grow up and move on, folks. Time to grow up, move on, stop with this stupidity. It's just ignorance, willful ignorance. If you don't like it, that's on you, not on me. But I do know that they're not shoving us back into the bottle. And no matter what they want to do over there on that, let me pull it back up here. I highlighted it some in my own little way of doing it. Back in Project 2025, this is how insidious this is. Okay, Project 2025. Download desktop. It was on the desktop. Let me pull it back up. We'll go right there. We'll go here. And let's see where it takes us now. 1 second. We'll drop this thing out of the way so you can see me again. And then we're going down to present. And let's present and share screen again. Are you ready? Go to the window. Go there and share. All right. I spend a lot of time in this thing. I actually have to read the rest of it. But if you want to see something that's really good, go look up this person by the name of Lesia Miller. She's an attorney. She talks about the Heritage Foundation and about Project 2025 and does a really good job of doing it. Okay. But her shows are recorded and put together like that as a podcast kind of thing, whereas mine's just live. So it's kind of what you're seeing is extemporaneous conversation for the past 45 minutes with no one in particular. So anyway, it talks about this up here. Deleting things. Starts with deleting these terms. In other words, let me just rephrase that. It starts with shoving back into the genie's bottle. Get the genie and shove the genie back in there because we don't want them. We don't want that quantum mechanical model. We don't want the quantum mechanical version of sexuality, of gender. It's just too offensive. Even though it's true, it offends so many people. It hurts people. I mean, I don't know why. What's the big deal? We understand better now. We understand more. It was Thomas Jefferson who actually said this in a letter in 1816 to his friend Samuel Kercheval. I think it was July the 12th or something like that. Anyway, so in that letter to his friend Samuel Kercheval, he said, why would anyone try to force me to wear the coat of my youth when I now know better? I know more. I have more experience. I know we've learned new things. And he said in that same letter that ever so often, the society at large, our governance at large, we learn new things. We learn new processes. And if we don't allow, if we're so rigid in our understanding of how to interpret or use the Constitution or whatever, our government forms or governmental forms and structures, if they don't adapt with the new knowledge, then you become a stick in the mud. You become less than and no longer fully living up to the potential of what they actually wanted. That was Jefferson, me paraphrasing a whole letter. But it's a good one. It's a good letter. Just look up Samuel Kercheval and a letter to Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson in 1816. I think it was July the 12th, 1816, somewhere right around that period of time. Go check it out. You'll see what he actually believed. But he did paraphrase. He did state at the beginning, please don't share this with anybody else. Why? Well, because he was like the Heritage Foundation today. He didn't want to be called what he really is. They don't really want to be called what they really are. You see, Jefferson had an understanding of society and the way men and people grow and societies change over time. He was a historian. He knew all this stuff. He was in the American Philosophical Society. He was in the American Science Academy. I mean, he was in those things and actually a very smart person, a polymath. But he didn't ever want anyone to know that he actually thought the government should adapt to changing times. Not frequently, not easily, but at least adapt to it. And what we see now are people trying to take what we know today, not just in the form of government, but taking what we know today, the knowledge that we have of who we are, how we got here, and all that kind of stuff, our improved knowledge of who we are and the institutions that we created around that. You're trying to take it and shove it back into that billiard ball model of the atom. Doesn't work. Genie's out of the bottle. And we're going to keep showering you with that rainbow of life, not just on the LGBT side, but also on every minority side. From every minority in this country, we're going to shower you and cover you up in all of that color. Those of you who don't want us out there, you can go through there and try to erase all that stuff that you want. You can go through and try to eliminate words that reference us or eliminate the grants that enable the research to understand even more. You're trying to stop the research into this. You're trying to stop the research into it so that we can stop it right where it is right now, shove it back into the Dalton model, but we're going to stop all research so that you can never, ever again get past the Dalton model. You can never see beyond that. If you can't fund the research, you refuse to fund the research by stopping grants associated with this. And that's what it says. It says that right there. Then you got your head stuck in the freaking sand, folks. I don't know how to tell you otherwise. You have jumped off that thing and stuck your head down in there. And I'm going to just show you really quickly what I mean by that. I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. Let me get rid of this screen and get back to you. All right. Back over here to you, folks. Here we are. Let me pull up one more thing. Let me see if I can pull this up. Now I got to, I think I may have to put it down here. I know what I got to do. I have to remove myself from the screen so that you can see it. But anyway, so maybe I can pull it up here too. Hold on 1 minute. Let me get this overlay up here out of the way. Give me 1 second. I'm going to put something up on the screen, and I'm going to tell you about this other stuff that came along. Oh, here's Lisa Miller. Project 2025. This is good. I'm going to upload that one. Hold on a minute. Let me go over here to this one. I'm putting a few things up here for you to look at. Just give me 1 second. Dun, 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 dun. And I know I've got it in here. Where'd it go? Looking for something else. Here we go. Something else. Where's that? Well, I don't see it. Okay, well, let's just upload those. Anyway, so I'll tell you this quick story. We'll get out of here. There's this person who ends up going to hell. And yeah, if you believe in that, if you don't, that's fine too. I don't care one way or the other. It doesn't matter to me either. But the story goes, if you die and go to hell, and then you go down there and you're talking to the devil or whatever, and he's asking you which door you'd like to go into, and the doors are open. There are three doors there. One of them, you look in there, you look into the door, and you look around, and it's just got this tank full of water, and people are in there, and it's hot water, and people are bobbing up and down and trying to get their breath, but they can't get out of the water. They're stuck in it forever and ever and ever, and they can't drown, they can't die. They're always just having to go down there in the pain of inhaling water and go back up and trying to catch some hot air and back down. It's just door number one's not for you, right? Door number two, you look at that one and you go, well, no, that one's certainly not for me either, because all you got in there is nothing but fire and brimstone, sulfur burning, and people in agony and just the pain of the burning on all the freaking time. It's always there. And you look in and you say, there's no, that's not for me. But you have a third door. You go look in the third door and, oh my gosh, they're in there partying and having a good old time. They are partying down. You look in there on that one, you got music, you got the band on the stage, you've got drinks, and you got everything that you might want in there, and standing around talking with other people, and they're all looking good and sparkly, and there's a lot of diamonds all over the walls, and there's gold everywhere. And you go in the bathroom and there's a golden toilet. And you go into the showers in there, and all that, you can see it's a golden shower. Well, we're not talking about Trump. Anyway, the golden shower part of it, So anyway, back to, let me clear my head. Okay, got it, done. So you decide, hey, I'm going to go in door number 3 because they look like they're having a good old time for all of eternity. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm going in there. You go in, you find your place to sit, talk with some people, getting to know them, socializing a little bit. Everybody's just having a good old time. I mean, it's just a gorgeous place to be. I mean, geez, even the toilet is golden. My God, what could go wrong with that, right? Until you hear a bell, a big buzzer going off, like the one of the klaxon sounding that you hear on Flintstones. The big blare. Yeah! that one. Okay. All right, got it. Goes off, and then you hear a person over the intercom going, all right, break's over. Put your head back down in the shit. You end up with your head stuck down in toilet flushing with your butt stuck up in the air, but you can't take it out. You don't even know how long you want to keep it down there, because it turns out those breaks are really infrequent. You just happen to look in on door number 3 when it looked like they were having a good time. Anyway, I don't even know what the point of that story was, but let me see. Well, yeah. Opportunities, understandings, different ways to look at things. And make sure you see everything clearly, because we're not going to shove this. We're not going back into the darn bottle to please anyone. So thoughts on, folks. With that, have a great evening. Remember, whenever you have an opportunity to go vote, vote. I don't care if you think it doesn't matter. I don't care what you think about that. I don't care whether you think I should be telling you to go vote. I'm telling you to go vote. Whenever you have that opportunity, wherever you are in this country or in the world, really, because I do know people are watching from everywhere. I've seen the people flowing over in and out of our websites from all across the planet. So go vote when the opportunity is yours. Even if you only have one person to vote for, still go cast your vote, or go there and then check no. whatever you have to do, but exercise that right to vote wherever you may be. And then drag a friend along with you, because that's how you're going to change things here in this country, whether you believe it or not. If we allow the conservatives to win the White House, if they take the presidency in November of 2024, all that stuff I mentioned about deleting all those words over there that, trying to shove the genie back into the bottle kind of stuff, they've got a plan. If they take the White House in November of 2024, then come January the 20th of 2025, when that person is up there and they raise their right hand and say, "So help me God," that the authoritarian theocratic fascist heritage organization is going to hand off to this new president a whole slate of names to go in that have been people who have been vetted and trained in the ways that heritage wants them to go. Project 2025 wants them to go, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. They put $22 million towards that darn project. Probably have more by the time this is over, because this is a big deal to them. They like that Dalton model of the atom better than they like anything about that quantum mechanical one over there with all the probability clouds around it. With that, hope you have a good evening. Bye now.